Hello and welcome to another Teamo8 review. We've got this is another 18 seat sit and go turbo, Omaha high-low of course, and this is one of our level 3 players. Let's get right into it, see what happens here. Okay, a few limpers, and our player jams. Now that's that hand is within the jamming range for this sort of stack size, but based on this action, with all these limpers, we don't have a lot of fold equity, and fold equity does make up a reasonable amount of our equity in this situation. So what I'd probably prefer to do, even though we're getting pretty desperately short stacked, is I'd prefer to check and take a flop and play it from there. Anyway, let's move right along. Okay, here we are a fair bit later. We're 2 spots off the money. Let's see what happens here. Short stack jams, not surprising, gets called. Our player jams. Now, that hand's definitely in the jamming range, and we are pretty damn desperate. But in this case, because we've got no fold equity, even though we're super desperate, it's pretty much a coin flip as to whether you play the hand or sit this one out and go with the next hand. Anyway, let's move right along. Okay, here we are now on the bubble, and our player's built up quite a decent stack. Let's see what happens. And we've got a very short stack over here, less than 2 blinds. Okay, limp in. Our player checks, fair enough. Flop top 2, check. And a jam. I don't mind this jam at all. This is good bubble play. Our opponent, if he had an ace-deuce type hand that he really wanted to play, he would have got it all in pre-flop. Even if he's got that hand now, he hasn't really shown much interest. He's probably not going to try and draw it at a low, and he's probably not going to draw it all, given that this guy over here's got 2 blinds. So this is a really good play on the bubble, noticing the situation and ramming it home. I like it. Anyway, let's go on to the next one. Okay, the bubble has burst. We're doing pretty well. You can see a lot of chips have moved from up the top here to this guy over here who's in the small blind at the moment. These 2 guys are desperately stacked. This guy up here, strangely, even though he's been on the short stack, hasn't been playing hands. I mean, he should have played several hands by now, and he hasn't done it. When you're under 4 blinds, really, especially once you're in the money, you should just be getting a stack in every single hand until you chip up a bit. Anyway, let's see what happens here. Okay, jam for less than 3 blinds. And our player jams to isolate. I quite like this play here because we've seen this guy folding all the time when he should play. So, we're isolating. We're trying to get this heads up because we do have a reasonable amount of equity. Let's have a look at our equity. Now, our opponent should be jamming any 4 cards. So we're actually slightly ahead of his range with the pair of 10s and the 2 wheel cards. And add to that the fact that he can't really hurt us that much, even if he does manage to win the pot outright, which, isn't all that likely. Again, looking here, whoops, we only get scooped about 1/3 of the time. So, we're in pretty good shape. I quite like that play, good awareness. All right, now let's move on to the next one. Okay, here we are. Our player's done really well. He's made it to heads up with a pretty good stack. Let's see what's happening here. Opponent raises 3 times. And our player jams. Really good play. This hand is going to have a lot of equity heads up. Let's see what the opponent calls. And now the interesting thing here to note is that our opponent has opened up like he should. He probably should have jammed that hand. I mean, really, our opponent played this pretty sillily, really. I mean, if he's going to raise but not fold to a re-raise, then he may as well jam it all in the first place. Anyway, our player's done well. He's but hopefully now he'll take notice of the fact that his opponent does seem to have a reasonable idea of his ranges for this situation. So we have to take that into account as we move forward. Anyway, let's move right along. Okay, here we are a little later. We're on the button. We've got ace, king, king, 9, so we've got a high only hand. We can't make a low. Our player jams. Maybe this is a specific read he's got on our opponent, but I don't think so, because our opponent has shown that he knows his calling ranges pretty well. So, yeah, this is probably just taking it a little bit too far. You know, if I had two small cards, two wheel cards in particular, I'd want to go with it, but you really needed a decent chance at winning both sides of the pot. So this one here is probably just getting just slightly too aggressive. Certainly not a huge mistake. But anyway, let's move right along. Okay, here we are a bit later. Our player's been doing really well. He's been taking a lot of chips off the other guy. Let's see what we do here. Oh, he open folds. Let's go back. With that 3 deuce in his hand, sure, the jack looks like a bit of dead weight, and it is. But heads up at this point, the 3 deuce, the 2 hearts, they're going to give us enough equity. The 6 connects, and really, heads up, should be jamming that one, especially with the chip lead where we can't be hurt. Okay, let's move along. All right, we're a couple of hands, 2 hands later on the button. Same thing again. We've got a nice hand here for heads up. We can take a high and a low. All our cards are working together. The ace helping with the lows, the 7, 8, and the jack, all loosely connected. Let's see what happens here. He folds again. That that really should have been a jam. Anyway, let's move right along. Oops, we went too far. Okay, let's see what happens here. So we're in the big blind. The other guy's got a bit of chips. Okay, check and take a flop. All right, we flopped the nuts. That's always handy. See what our player does. Oh, he jams it all in. Actually, I don't think this is necessary here at this point to jam it in. What I'd prefer is it's perfectly fine. Heads up, slow play, a nut high hand here. There's no low draw out there. There's nothing we're particularly scared of. I would either min bet or check this and see if we can't induce our opponent to waste some chips later in the hand, maybe trying to bluff us or something like that. But anyway, overall, this game was quite well played. So if you'd like to know a little bit more about what we do here at Teamo8 in training, teaching Omaha high-low, staking, that sort of thing, well, check us out on the website at teamo8.com. Until next time, bye for now.